What's up, YouTube? It's Logan, the drunken metalhead who muses, and I'm back after a bit of a hiatus due to a move. I finally got all my shit settled. Yeah. And I'm ready to sit behind a camera and drink a beer and listen to a good album. So, with that in order, let's talk metal. So for my welcome back video, I kind of wanted to focus on an album that helped me kind of get through this hectic summer. And I went back to one of my big comfort food genres, that of just straight up meat and potatoes death metal. Death metal that is squarely set in old school ways, but while at the same time has its own unique flair. I was able to find a 2023 release that exemplified it, and I'm talking about Torture Rack. And this is their album Primeval Onslaught that came out earlier this year, like at the beginning of summer. Let's dive into this gory slab of death. Alright, so first, to get the housekeeping details out of the way, in the background we are listening to this little tight EP from the Texas brutal death metal band, Stabbing. I don't know if I would call them brutal death, but they are definitely on that cusp. But the name of this EP is Ravenous Psychotic Onslaught. And you can't see the album cover too well, but God, this thing is 11 minutes long, and it's fucking awesome. I will probably play this thing 3 times during the course of this video, and I will love every single play of it. My favorite track is number 3, Excrement Sarcophagus. That's a brutal song name. Alright, to pair with this meat and potatoes slab of American death metal, I've got a American IPA perfectly called Commotion. This album I'm about to review is hectic and filled with just pure energy. And we need a slightly heavy yet still easily drinkable IPA to match it. Cheers! The brewery is from Great Raft Brewing. It's in Shreveport, Louisiana. So just up the street from where I'm at, kind of almost in Texas. Let's get on to the music. So to kind of do a brief introduction, death metal is one of those reliable genres for me that I end up going back to every single year. And there are always a couple releases that do just meat and potatoes death metal well, and always end up being on constant rotation during the year. It's really why I love the genre so much. The recipe for success is just easily replicable. It's one of those that I can always revisit these releases later on and still get the same enjoyment from. So, let's see what's on the menu this year with Torture Rack's Primeval Onslaught. So first, a brief history. So these guys are, of course, death metal from Portland, Oregon, and they've been exhumed and rotting since 2012. This is their 3rd album. This is the first one that I've kind of dug into fully. I've heard their previous one, which I will put up right there. But this is the first one that I listened to and dug. So, of course, this was released on one of the best labels out and going, $20 spin, and this is probably one of their bigger bands on there. They share members with Witch Vomit, who's another $20 spin band. But yeah, this is another album that shows $20 spin is dominating the game. So I think one reason why I like this album so much is that it's a perfect mesh of that old school meat and potatoes death metal that I keep mentioning, but then there's also a lot of like punk energy here that gives it its own unique flair. to kind of name drop some bands, you know, of the old school death metal vibe, I get a lot of that early Autopsy, like Mental Funeral and Back, and then Eaten Back to Life, Cannibal Corpse. And then, of course, with the punk influences, I think the most important distinction is to say that these influences are strictly punk, not hardcore. This is no Sanguisugabog or Frozen Soul style death metal. It gets you up and jumping, not wanting to crowd kill somebody. All the songs are also like 3 minutes or shorter. There's a wide variety between the tracks here that allow a lot to stand out due to either the pacing, the riffs, or just the energy present. So there's a lot of strengths on display throughout Primeval Onslaught. So yeah, the main strengths of Primeval Onslaught is its overall runtime, just being 26 minutes, with all the songs being 3 minutes or less. It goes quick, and you're kinda stuck in this energetic tornado of riffs and kind of rotten production the whole time. Speaking of riffs, they are fucking killer here. I'm gonna pick out a few later on, but honestly there's too many to count. Finally, the presentation of this album is perfect. Like, look at this. I'll show the album artwork somewhere around here. But it's fucking awesome, and I love some of these song titles. Decrepit Funeral Home, Morning Star Massacre, and of course, Fucked by Death. Just gnarly shit. It all adds up to just an instantly replayable album. And one that you will revisit week after week and month after month. I mean, I've been jamming this since it came out. Alright. So my favorite songs, I've already mentioned some of them, but track number 2, Decrepit Funeral Home, I love the song title, and it comes in with a blistering drum fill that kind of carries the song all the way through. Track number 3, Force from the Pit. It's my favorite song, and it's got the grooviest riffs, and really perfectly paces itself as the longest track on the album. The main riff is excellently accented by a shifting drum pattern, and there's a killer guitar solo towards the end. Not to mention another one on the riff that kind of fades out. And then the 2 true punk songs on the album, Morning Star Massacre and Fucked by Death, are just perfect of that pure punk energy. Like, you know, almost Ramones kind of punk energy. It's, you know, fun, easy bass line, and just da-da-da-da-da-da. And especially Fucked by Death. Also, the placement within the album really helps the flow too, because you're moving through it, then all of a sudden there's this minute-long song that just perfectly is like a breath of fresh air amongst the, you know, crushing old school death metal. So if I were to say there's a weakness, it'd be that there's nothing new under the sun. It's all the same. As I said, it's all-reliable. This kind of calls into question my love for all-reliable death metal and why I end up picking it every single year. Like, the reason why I love it is also the weakness that I cite. I don't know. It's like I'm going back to comfort food. It doesn't push my taste forward, but it really, what counts is that it helps me get through a year musically. And this has been a kind of an intense summer, and it's been great to have something like this to throw on during like a work commute or just a tough afternoon. The truth is, I haven't been able to digest and focus on mind-altering, genre-pushing releases as much, with just life getting busier and having a lot more distractions. And honestly, after 14 years of discovering music, it takes a lot more for a release to push through my jaded expectations to make me take notice. That's why when an album comes along with the same twists and tricks that I'm used to and always love, but with a unique flair all of its own, I can't help but take notice. And Torture Rack's Primeval Onslaught did that for me. It was just an immediate comfort, but then also an immediate fun trip that I want to take probably a couple times a week so far. So, in 2023, Torture Rack is my meat and potatoes death metal album, and it gets the job done and then some. So, that is why I'm giving this album an 8.6 out of 10 on Drunken Metalhead Reviews. And real quick, I wanted to try something different at the end. Since I only talk about and review albums that I own, I kind of wanted to highlight an album at the end of this review that I don't own, and I might not end up picking up this year, but I still think it's worth people's time. So, another death metal recommendation for you is Dead and Dripping with their album Blackened Cerebral Riffs. It's an odd, fun album. It kind of has like some Dimelic finished vocals with United States death metal that makes me think of the New York scene. It's kind of a head scratcher of an album, but in all the right places. So definitely check out Dead and Dripping along with Torture Rack. Cheers.